Now, let's look at adding our mobile menu. So the first thing we're going to do is add a link to Font Awesome icons because I'm using icons for the menu burger. So let's go ahead and add our Font Awesome link. Now you could use graphics, you could use icons of your choice. That's really up to you. I'm going to use a Font Awesome kit. It's just an easy way to do this. All right, so let's go ahead and save. All right, now let's go ahead and add our menu HTML. And I already have this typed up. And I'm going to add my menu at the very top of the HTML structure above the main container. So as soon as the body opens, this is where I'm going to place my menu. And this menu will end up using z-index to make sure it's all the way forward. But let's go ahead and paste in. And what you'll notice is we have a div, which is the actual menu with the hamburger icon inside. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about the function that's already on here. Then we have another div. This is our icon, which will close the menu. And then we have our div, which is our overlay for the menu. Okay, so this is going to be the overlay, which it could come out from the left, from the top, from the right, from the bottom. You could scale it, you could fade it in. That is going to be completely up to you. This is a very modular approach. So however you choose to style the overlay, and then however you choose to animate the overlay with the JavaScript. Totally up to you. Okay, again, we'll come back and we'll talk about this on-click event, which I already have on here. Okay, and then you'll see we basically just within our unordered list, we just have a series of list items, and they all have an href with a ID, and these IDs correlate to the IDs we created for the sections when we started this whole demonstration, okay, when we made the initial structure. So those links, those IDs are going, again, they correlate to these different sections and the section IDs. All right, let's just scroll back up here to the top. We can go ahead and save. Now, let's go ahead and begin adding our CSS. So, we have the HTML, we have the body of the document, our main container. So right before the main container, this is where I'm going to add, or I'm going to begin adding the rules for our menu. Okay, so the first one is our menu burgie. Okay, so our hamburger icon. And you'll see that this is fixed as far as the position, and then we're just setting the top and the left. And I'm setting a transition because I want the movement to animate for this icon when we replace the hamburger icon with the X or the close icon. All right, so next we will have our, make sure I got the right thing here. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll add our next one. Okay, so our icon, and this one, just make sure I got the right one here. Yes, everything's right. I should call this, instead of menu hamburger icon, twice. This one at the top is the holder. This is going to hold the icon. Okay, so the second rule we've placed is the actual icon itself. Okay, so the first one holds the icon, positions the icon, and our second one here is the actual hamburger icon. Okay, so now what we need to do is add both the menu X holder, or the close holder, and then also the icon for the menu X. So let's go ahead and add our menu X. And again, I guess we can say holder. And again, the position is fixed, and we're positioning this on the top. And then you'll see on the left, we're using -1000, and that's because we're making menu X, in this case, way off to the left-hand side, and we'll animate with a transition when we make the hamburger go way off to the left-hand side. We'll have the X menu come in and replace the hamburger menu. Okay, so then we style the icon, which is inside our menu X holder, which, remember, the menu hamburger holder and the menu X holder, these are two elements which just exchange positions when we at one point click on them. Okay, so now we need to deal with our overlay. So let's go ahead and add our overlay styles. Like so. And let's go ahead and take a look. So we have our menu overlay, and this position is also fixed. We're going to start out top left at 0, width 0, and the height is 100 VH. Okay, so, and let's see, then what we have is our margin 0, padding 0, we have some color. We've added our, we've told the overflow to be hidden, okay? And the z-index is 1000, so this should be behind the icon, but above the rest of the content. Let's just take a quick look at our icon. So you'll see our icon is 1010, okay, for our X in our hamburger. And then on our overlay, we're just at 1000. Okay, so our overlay will be over the top of our interface, and then our X and our hamburger will be over the top of our overlay. Okay, now then we have our unordered list and our links, and basically you can take a look at this. We're just styling the list so we can position our list, and then we're adding some style to our list items, basically just how we want them to show up on the screen. Let's go ahead and just go right back up to overlay, and notice the width is set to 0. Okay, so what's going to happen is when we click on our hamburger icon, we're going to change the width, and we're just going to have that width become 100 viewport width. So our overlay will go all the way across the screen. Okay, so now we have our styles in. What we need to do is add our JavaScript. So let's go ahead and get our code for the JavaScript. And we'll paste in the first function and talk about the first function. All right, so let's make our JavaScript window a little wider here so it's a little easier to see what's going on. Now, I have a comment in here basically saying if you're using Dreamweaver, do not trust the Dreamweaver preview when you have any kind of JavaScript going on. You're much better to just open a browser window, take your actual index file, your HTML file, drag that file into your browser window or open the file via your browser window. Don't rely on the preview in Dreamweaver. Okay? Now, this first function we're going to look at, open menu, this is the one that will open, this is on the menu burger in the HTML. So that is this one right here. Okay? And you'll see we have on click, open menu. Okay? So the event is on click, but what we're calling is the open menu function. Okay, so we're calling this function right here. All right, now there is a counter, and this counter is if you want to use this script to have a moment of latency before something happens. Like if you were to click on something, or the page, you had a different event, like a hover, or a mouse over, a mouse in, a mouse out, a onload page, and you wanted something to happen after X amount of time, then we could use this counter. You'll notice right now I have this set to 1/10 of a second, 100 instead of 1000. Okay, so this will be 1/10 of a second before this function executes. So if you didn't want the timer part of the script could be removed. Okay, now what you can do is you can add multiple properties. Let me just move this back. Okay, so you can add multiple properties, and you do so by, you could copy paste this line of the code. So what we're doing is we're going to the document, we're getting an element by its ID name. Okay, in this case overlay. And then what we're doing is using a JavaScript approach for getting at the CSS property. So we say style.width. In this case, we're going to set the width of the overlay to 100%. You could say 100 VW also. And then we're going to get the element by ID menu burgy, which is this one right here. Okay, and we're going to tell this style to be left -1000. And then we're going to tell menu X to be left 10. So right now, menu burgy is 10 and menu X is -1000. So when we click on the icon, we're going to open the overlay and we're going to exchange the position for the menu, the hamburger icon, with the X or close icon. All right, let's go ahead and get our second function, which we're going to use. And we'll paste in our second function. And now what we're dealing with is this div here. Okay, so we're now dealing with menu X, and when we click on the icon of menu X, or basically the holder for menu X, we're going to, our event is going to call, which is on click, is going to call the function close menu. So again, we have a timer. You'll notice again the timer is set to 1/10 of a second. And in this case, now overlay will have its width set back to 0. And menu burgy will now have its left set back to 10. And menu X will now get a left of -1000. So it just makes the icon go off the left-hand side of the screen, go back on onto the screen. So it's just on and off the screen. Now you'll notice I'm using width left. You could use height on the menu overlay, and you could have the elements go off the right-hand side. You can have the elements go off the top. You can have the elements go off the bottom. It's up to you how you want to style your initial overlay with the CSS, and then how you're going to change the overlay when you click on the hamburger and then again click on the X to close the menu. That's entirely up to you. All right, let's go ahead and save. And let's take a look at our pen here. I'm just going to update. Okay. And it looks like my menu's open right now. Let me go ahead and just check my menu real quick, see if I left something off. All right, so here's what I believe I might have got wrong, and I've on the sample code that you can download, I've went ahead and fixed this, but I believe that when I added the font awesome script in the head of the document, I have a comment just so we would know this is font awesome, but I accidentally had a JavaScript comment close instead of the HTML comment close. So I bet if I hope, let's go ahead and make this a complete HTML comment, and then we'll save. And let's go ahead and refresh. And there we go. So now we have our menu showing up. And when we click, our hamburger should go off the left, our X should come on, and we should see our unordered list. Now some of this is off the screen, so let's go ahead and go back real quick, and let's just find our overlay. And right now this overlay is 200 pixels from the top. Let's just go 60 pixels from the top. And then on the margin, we won't have so much margin on the bottom. Let's just try 10 pixels underneath each of the list items. So let's save and update. And now we have all of our list. Now this is not completely styled. I only styled this enough to demonstrate that these are links. So now there's the home, which should take us to the home, and then list. If we want to go to the third, so remember in the previous demo, in our list we had three, we used flex and column, and we set three screens inside the list area. So list will go to, there's list 3, okay? Which actually I should have, let's see, this one's recipe 3, and I might have to fix these. It doesn't look like they're going to the right place. Let me go ahead and check that real quick. All right, so this one is looking for list, and this one should be list 1. And then we could also go to list 3, and then we should be able to go to recipe here, then submit and profile. So let's see if that fixed it. All right, so we'll open our menu. This should go to list 1. Then we would go to list 3, which is the third screen in the list screen area. And then recipe 3, this goes to the page that is a longer page. And then we should be able to go to submit, profile, login, categories. Okay. Now, I should mention, and let's just go back and take a look. And let me check real quick here. And I believe, where do we have it? Oh, okay. I'm just going to point out that on our menu overlay in the unordered list, I also added close menu, on-click close menu, which is our second JavaScript function, the one that is on the X. So what's going to happen is anytime we click one of our links, we're also clicking on the overlay, and that's going to execute a close. Otherwise, what would happen is your overlay would stay here. Okay, so I just wanted to point out that we also placed the close menu on the unordered list. All right, so there you go, adding your menu, mobile menu, to your mobile interface.